If you're an entrepreneur, do you want to join a community where you can meet some of the sharpest, greatest minds of our day? A place where you can share the highs and lows of running a business, and a group of people where you can bounce ideas around with people who see the world just like you. If so, stop whatever you're doing and listen right now, because this is going to be epic.
What is HubCP?
HubCP is events, insights, masterclasses and webinars are coming together of kindred spirits, and it's all tailored to you.
HubCP was created to celebrate and bring together the most adventurous, rebellious and entrepreneurial minds of our day.
It's a community for entrepreneurs, founders, owners, movers and shakers.
The content that matters to you, articles, videos, podcasts, all in one place.
It's unconventional, uncompromising and unpredictable.
The HubCP agenda is radical because there is no agenda, hidden or otherwise.
It's a blend of the virtual space and the physical place, where like-minded people can connect, share, inspire, and frankly, be wowed.
HubCP is real, it's grounded, and it's driven by a very simple desire to help businesses leap to the next level.
It's for the idea rich and time poor.
It's for those who disrupt, lead, and make life count.
We're throwing edgy events into the mix with explosive content and a big chunk of collaboration.
Created by like-minded rebels who know exactly how it feels in their shoes.
It's where business mavericks can be themselves, express their vision, and bounce off a sounding board like no other.
And it's all tailored to you, the most rebellious, disruptive business minds of our time.
Those who dream big, then knock it out of the park.
And that's HubCP.
Hi everybody, how are you? Welcome to the live lounge. Nice little video to get us started. Very slick, very professional, very savvy. I like that. So this is my favorite part of the month, when I get to talk about some really interesting subjects with some really epic entrepreneurs. And today we are going to be talking about Gen Z. Okay, Gen Z. Now, for anybody in doubt, that is people that were born between 1995 and 2009. Now, they are the largest consumer group in the world. And many of you will have a lot of Gen Zers in your workforce right now, but they are increasingly going to become a big part of people's teams. So let's just quickly recap on the previous generations so we can get some context as we start to get the picture of Gen Z. So first of all, we had the baby boomers, and they were a very strong work ethic, very disciplined, very goal-centered approach. And these guys are proud of the fact that they are not afraid to put in a hard day of work. Yeah, a hard day's work. Then you had Gen X, and these guys are very much about independence, work-life balance, and they're more informal. You know, imagine what it was like for the baby boomers. These guys are more informal, more into flexibility, and very technologically adept. Not saying that the baby boomers aren't. I'm just saying that's the general thing with Gen X. And then the millennials came along. So we had the baby boomers getting used to Gen X, and the Gen X getting used to baby boomers, and then we had the millennials. And they might be thinking, you know, that's what some people say, that they think they were a little bit too much pampered by their parents. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that is the general consensus. But they're technology savvy, they're really into flexibility, and they're idealists. Now, ladies and gentlemen, forget the millennials. We're now talking Gen Z. And the thing that's really important and interesting about Gen Z is they have not only a different way of thinking, which we're going to explore today, but a totally different language. So today we're going to discover some proper dank insights on what makes them tick from two Gucci entrepreneurs, where we'll be discussing how, whether you're trying to sell to them or trying to recruit them, you can create some lit experiences to attract them. No cap peeps, this is going to be hard. So without any further delay, I'd love to invite Jay Richards and Kat Agostinho to join me in the live lounge to discuss some awesome insights about exactly what Gen Z do, especially around branding, marketing, and products. Now, guys, before we start, a big, massive hello. Now, just you know, I've got a little secret to tell you. I've got a little secret to tell you, so come closer. Okay, you guys are my favorite entrepreneurs. Okay, you are without a doubt my favorite entrepreneurs. I absolutely love you guys. Okay, don't tell anybody else I said that. But you're my favorite entrepreneurs. So I'm particularly excited about today. No, I don't. That is not. I really don't. Guys, you're my favorite entrepreneurs. Now, everybody is going to be wondering about what are we talking about with Gen Z, and we're going to get that into a little while. But first of all, just tell us about your company, Imagen, and what you guys do and why it's important.
Well, firstly, thank you for having us. We're really, really thankful to be here. But yeah, so at Imagen, our mission is to help Gen Z to shape their future. And we know the best way for them to do that is with brands, because brands shape countries and culture like governments never really could. So the way we enable Gen Z to shape their future is we enable agencies and brands to crowdsource feedback, ideas, and insights from our community of Gen Z consultants. So we enable brands to build their branding, their marketing, or their products with Gen Z in the room.
And Kat, Gen, I mean, I feel straight away that I'm not particularly cool here because I'm saying Gen Z. So maybe I need to get more with it. But Gen Z are really important, right? They are a big deal. They are a big group of people. They are very important to companies that want to recruit them and companies that want to sell their products to them.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, I also say Gen Z, by the way. Jay says Gen Z. It's fine. Gen Z, however you want to do that. Yeah, they are incredibly important to organisations. And I think there's certain things that when you're trying to recruit this generation, you really need to be open to the way that they are and the way that they work. And they are incredibly opinionated. They have grown up in a completely different way. And they are incredibly valuable to a business, and it's really important that people understand that, and that people make the time to really understand that generation and why they would be so valuable to their business.
Yeah.
Do you think there's sorry, Jay, you go.
No, I was agreeing with it. It was a great point, so I was agreeing with that. But yeah, at the moment, they're 32% of the world's population, and by 2030, their spending power is going to be 4.4 trillion. So they're already your current customers, and if they're not, they're going to be your future customers. So it's a really good time to start engaging with this audience, with this community, and figuring out what they want.
And also, actually, just to add to that, diversity and inclusion is something that they are incredibly passionate about. It's not an afterthought. It's not something, you know, they've grown up thinking about diversity and in a diverse community. And so for those, for them, that is something that should just come from the world of work, and they expect that from their employers as well.
Now, Gen Z, can you give us a bit of an understanding about their psyche, their DNA, how these guys think, how they see the world, how they see us as people, how they see organizations, how they interact with each other? You know, I don't want to make them sound like some other species, blimey O'Reilly, but you know, we've only just got about millennials, okay, and now these Gen Zers, they bring their own set of ways of doing stuff, and it's fascinating because all of a sudden you've got all these generations going to be working together. Tell us about Gen Z.
Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, they're 32% of the world's population. So they're an absolutely huge demographic. And I think it's a lot of the time brands think they're maybe like 5 or 6 years old, but they're actually the youngest are 7 or 8 and the oldest are 25. So it's a nice big age range that you've got there. And one of the interesting things about Gen Z is that they are all about co-creation. So they love the idea of making cool things with cool people. So when they're coming into workplaces or brands are looking to target this audience, they need to remember that they want to be involved in the conversation. They don't want to be marketed to, they want to build with you. So I think it's one of those things when you're thinking about this this generation, when you look at millennials wanted to be the CEO. We wanted to be the one that's, do a podcast about me, talk about my journey. But with Gen Z, they just want to make cool things with cool people. They don't mind if they're the face of it or not, they just want to make cool things.
Yeah, and they're also, they're so independent and they're self-confident. They are money savvy. You know, that comes completely naturally to them. They also don't think 9 to 5. They love that flexible working, that kind of portfolio career. And with millennials, where, you know, we're millennials and we strive for that work-life balance, and it's kind of this thing that you're always trying to get. But actually, Gen Z expect that. And that's something, you know, if you're thinking about employment, they absolutely demand that they have that work-life balance. It's not, you know, something that then they think that they should fight for.
Yeah, great, love it.
Can I just check something with you? Because I'm just outside of millennials. but I consider myself very millennial at heart. And maybe a Gen Zer, I don't know. When I was saying some of the words they use, I can relate to that. I use those words all the time. But when I was going through my career, it was very much about, you've got to, on your CV, have something that shows you've got stickability. You stay there for the long run. You're there for the long haul. Okay, you're loyal. Is that a different way of thinking with Gen Zers? Because you're talking very much about it's all about what organizations can do for them as well. It's not just a one-way contract that, like maybe it was when I was going through the system.
Yeah, it is, and I think it comes back to things that they really believe in, and ethical consumption, sustainability. Those are causes that are so important to them, and so what they're looking for in an employer is somebody that can, show them that they are making strides in those fields. So whether that's your office environment or whether that's donating to specific causes, if you work in fashion and you decide that's the route that you want to go, then sustainability is going to be incredibly important. So they are looking for different things.
Yeah, I think it's the interesting thing about Gen Z is that when they're coming into a workplace, so with millennials, we were looking for very much, like as I was saying earlier, it's like we're very much one of these CEO, we want to run our own thing, we want to be the founder of something. But with Gen Z, because they just want to create cool stuff with cool people, they are happy to go into an organization and be in it for the long run. For them, it's kind of almost like a throwback to Gen X, when they're almost looking for that stability, that job for life type thing.
Right.
But they are very selective about the organizations that they are going to be working for. So at the same time, they will have that full-time job. They'll have other things going around it, like side hustles and things like that. But I think it's very crucial for companies to realize that as you're recruiting this generation, or as you're advertising to this generation, that they are really going to do a deep dive on your organization itself. Because they've got the internet. They don't need to take what you say at face value anymore, because they can research it and find out that you're talking to your backside.
So never before has your message, your purpose, being able to communicate why you do what you do, everything that you stand for, I guess what you're saying is never before has that been so important, because they're gonna do their research.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, they're digital natives, so it's not. It just comes completely naturally to them.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna not just yet. I've got a couple more questions, but I'm gonna put it to the floor in a moment, because I can see we've got some questions that people want to put to you guys. But Jay, just something we were talking about, probably, I don't know, it's maybe last month, I don't know, but you said something really interesting, which was my generation, but a lot of generations have been through a number of curveballs. So we had the financial crisis. Now, COVID-19, for a lot of these guys, that was the first time that they've been through something as hideous as a sort of experience like that. How are they feeling generally about the virus, and how's that kind of formulating their attitudes to certain things?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think the interesting thing is that 30% of Gen Z were either furloughed or made redundant due to COVID, because they were the last into most companies. So obviously they're going to be the first ones out when those companies are making cuts. So I think it is, for them, they're not just facing a pandemic, they're facing also a financial crisis, and they're facing their parents losing their jobs, and all these different things that are happening all at one time, that for millennials and older generations, they would have happened at different intersections. Right now, it's happening to them all in one moment. And I think an interesting thing we're seeing with our Gen Z community at the moment is that they're very much talking to each other. So they're very much so, with our consultants, they were saying to us, we want a back end where we can really communicate with each other and just have conversation. Because for them, they know it's super important right now from a mental health perspective to be talking to each other. And even with regards to esports, a lot of our consultants were saying, I'm playing a lot of computer games at the moment, but not because it's for me. I actually know that if I talk to my friend while playing FIFA, they're more likely to have an open conversation with me than they would do if I tried to meet them for coffee. So a lot of them are using the technology that's around them to actually engage each other as a global community, to actually enable them to ride through this crisis and come out better and stronger.
Got it. Now I'm going to ask one more question. Okay, so Steve, I promise you, I'm going to put this out, but just something we've not touched upon: brutally honest insights. Yeah, brutally honest insights. So just in terms of the mechanics, the process of how your company works, a company will come to you and you will source the attitudes of your crowdsource from all your Gen Zers, right? 3 words: brutally honest insights. So these guys do not hold back. Is exactly what is meant by those 3 words?
Oh, no. No, they will say exactly what they think. And And that's the beauty of it. I mean, that's why we do what we do. And if brands take note of that and they are willing to hear those opinions, it will completely help those brands and those agencies to shape how to communicate with that audience.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think it's the interesting thing about Gen Z, and one of the things that I love is for them, it's kind of, they just want to make brands better.
Yeah.
They're not doing it from a place like, oh, we know everything, we're so amazing. It's like, we just want to make you better, because if you're better, then it's better for us and it's better for the planet.
Yeah.
Because the way they see humanity is one big global community. So they don't see it as like oh, you're a Democrat, you're a Republican. They see us, we're one big community, we're in this together. So let's actually enable brands to be better. So then for us, it ends up being a better thing. So the brutally honest insights that our consultants provide to brands, to agencies, really are at the core of what they build. So a lot of the time we're at the earlier stage of the process. So we're normally in the ideation and the creation, and we're enabling brands to make sure that they build properly. So with the scaffolding, we make sure that they build that properly, so that when they then move forward, they don't make any mistakes, and they mitigate a lot of the risks.
Yeah. And we're really lucky because we've got, you know, amazing clients that we're working with, like the NFL, like Stella McCartney, like MSL Group. That I know, it's amazing, and you know, they understand the importance of engaging with that audience, and know they might not know the best way to communicate with them, but they know that they need to, and that's what we're doing. We're helping them to be able to communicate better with that audience, and therefore to craft their marketing campaign or their product or their branding that will then suit that audience.
You know, you guys are too humble to say this, so I'm just going to put it out there. But, you know, you're a Forbes 30 under 30 business. You were last week in the prestigious tech round, top 100 startups. You guys are doing awesome stuff. Huge congratulations, because that really is testimony to the great things you're doing. I mean, look at the clients you've got. So everybody who's listening to this, you couldn't be talking to two better people who know their stuff. Now, I love technology here because I'm getting all these questions that are screaming out at me. So this is where I'm going to hold, where I'm going to hang over to Steve, who's going to start giving us some questions from the audience. Steve, what do we have?
Hey guys, we've got a ton of questions in, which is brilliant. So we've got a question straight in from Steve. Loves the power of Gen Z. I'll get a bit of feedback there, sorry. Loves the power of Gen Z. If you create a campaign for this powerful group, will you alienate millennials, Gen X, baby boomers, etc.? Would campaigns need to be mutually exclusive to work with the Gen Z audience?
Steve, that's a really, really good question. No, the answer is no, because I think the interesting thing about marketing is, and you'll know this as much as we do, that it applies to so many different generations. It's not always siloed. I think it's very much something that if you're going to be building something well, then it will apply to so many different generations. And I think the great thing about Gen Z and the great thing about our community is that their foresight and their insights are very much enabling brands to actually build across these generational lines. And I think it's super exciting to be able to work with Gen Z, because the way I mentioned earlier, the way they look at the world as a global community, so they don't really see age the same way we do. So for them, it would be very much looking at Gen X and saying, well, why wouldn't they like a great marketing campaign designed by us if we're designing it with them in mind? And I think one of the interesting things that marketing agencies and brands need to start thinking about is both ends of the spectrum, because sometimes everybody so much focuses on Gen Z that they forget much older. So like folks that are in retirement, sometimes brands will forget that they're still a massive part of the world and the workforce. And I think the great thing about Gen Z is that they see those generational lines very, very blurred, and for them it's very much about being involved across the entire process.
And I think it also comes back to you know, your marketing strategy and how if you're thinking about digital as a platform, and how you're going to use, let's say, each social media platform, then you would adapt your tone of voice depending on your audience. And so if you're talking to millennials, or actually wrong demographic, if you're talking to your grandparents, then you might use Facebook, right? We're millennials, we don't really use Facebook, but we do use Instagram. And actually then you've got Snapchat, and it's adapting that communication. So you can still have one marketing strategy with one product, but you're just going to tailor your communication to where those people are.
Steve, if I can just ask a question on the back of that, in terms of talking about communication, and sometimes companies get it wrong, are these guys forgiving? So if you have put something out there and it's not worked, you know, brutally honest insight, they tell you exactly how it is, are they forgiving? Will they let you have a second chance, or if you get it wrong, you've blown it?
Yeah, John, it is a good question. And the thing with this generation is they don't give you that many chances. They're not going to cut you off completely, but you need to earn that trust. And so if you were to communicate in a certain way and it didn't really resonate, then as a brand you were to recognize that, then you would have another chance. But if you go straight in with I'm going to market to you in a way that I believe is the right way, and I'm not really going to ask you what you think, then that's when they'll say, see you later, I'm going to go to the next person. So it's all about, like, you know, we can't stress that enough. If you consult with your audience and with that target audience that you have in mind, be that Gen Z, then they will be on board with you and they will stay with you and they will be loyal and they will trust you.
Yeah, great.
And something you said earlier was, and as long as you're prepared to embrace the fear, what are they going to say about us? Just embrace it, roll with it, people, because it's going to help you.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I think that sorry, just to jump onto that, a great time to embrace the fear is when you're initially building. I think sometimes brands will roll something out and they go, crap, it's gone wrong, let's try and like bring it back in. And I think the best time to build it is in the ideation, in the creation phase, when it's still a rough idea and you can take that to Gen Z and see what they think about it before it goes out into the world.
Cool. My computer is screaming at me, John, let other people talk. Sorry, guys. Steve, next question.
This question's from Alison. From a market research perspective, you say you crowdsource feedback, ideas, and insight. How do you gather Gen Z feedback, and what do you differently or do differently to more traditional online market research panels to source insights?
Yeah. Was it Alison or Allerton?
Alison.
Alison. Alison, great. I was thinking Allerton. That's a phenomenal first name. Yeah, great question, Alison. I think the main reason why we're different, I would say, to other panels and the way we do research is simply the fact the way we built our community. Because I think for a lot of legacy research companies, it's very much okay. A brand will come to them and say, we're looking for 15 Gen Z around this age group, and then that agency will normally go out and find them and then try and bring them in. Or it will be they've got a panel of 150,000 young people across the country, and they will then just go to that wider panel and try and get insight. What we've done is we've built a community of really committed and creative people. So when brands and agencies come to us, you're going to folks that are experts within their space, because for them, it's very much they're working with us and they have to actually pitch to brands to then actually work with that brand. So say, for example, I'll give you an example. When the NFL came to us and they said, we've got 3 marketing campaigns, we want to aim at Gen Z. And what we did, we sent out the 3 marketing campaigns to our consultants and we said, tell us why you love this which campaign, that you love, how they can improve that campaign and which one they should go with. And that's what our Gen Z are able to do. They're able to provide creative insight for that brand, for those agencies, to provide them with the data to take that forward. So it's not simply just 60% think this is a great idea. It's actual creative insight to take that forward. So that's why I would say we are different to legacy market research companies.
And then also just to add to that, we've got our insight piece, which is a huge percentage of our business, but actually we then run the workshops. So we've got a workshop tomorrow, and we had one a couple of weeks ago with the NFL again, and we've got 6 consultants that have been part of our community, spending a whole day with NFL to help them to craft their youth marketing strategy. So it's, yes, you get the insights, but actually then we're going a step further to actually, co-create, whether that's a strategy or a product design or branding, and you're doing that with them in the room.
Yeah.
Can I just ask a question on the NFL point? Because I think, as entrepreneurs, getting household names is the ultimate thing, really, amongst many other things. But, getting great clients, how did that happen? Getting someone like them, I know, you've had some incredible achievements. You've been on some incredible lists, but you're a startup. How do you get massive brands like that? Give me some insight. How do you go and land them?
Yeah, I mean, that was a very long conversation. I mean, it's been happening since the start of the business. We do a lot of PR. We have to put ourselves out there. I mean, Jay says he's hustling all the time, and that is that's right. And that's a big part of our job. And speaking to you today, doing podcasts, being out there, out there virtually, as much as we can to raise awareness of the business and to talk about what we're doing. And we're so passionate about what we do, and we're providing, the ultimate aim of our business is to provide opportunity for young people and enable them to help their future. So it's obviously about brands, and we need the brands to be able to keep the business going, but we have to remember that that's our core mission, and people like to hear our story, and they're interested in that, and they also want to help young people to shape their future as well. So the more that we can get out there, the more that we're talking to people, that's really how our conversations are coming around.
And that was literally how the NFL, sorry John, that's how the NFL came about. It was us speaking at a speaking engagement, I think it was Facebook, and then they came up to us afterwards like, hey, we want to work with you. And then, as Kat said, it was a very long process to get it all finalized and over the line. But yeah, they're one of our cornerstone clients, which is amazing.
So hashtag get hustling, everyone, yeah?
Yeah.
So if I think about the workforce, okay, and I think about how people look these days and how people dress, and you can see things have changed so quickly, things are happening so quickly. And especially if you think of more traditional, some certain professional service organizations, do you think that it's important that organizations start to let people, we've mentioned authenticity and being real. I have a tattoo. So it was actually my initials of my wife, and we'd only been together for 6, that's a tattoo. My story here is I've been with her 6 weeks. I said, I think you're awesome. So she said, prove it. I said, right, go and get a tattoo. And she went, all right, then do it. Now, first of all, when I was done, I was wearing a watch. I was like, oh my gosh, it looks weird. I was wearing a watch, but now I'm starting to think I don't need to wear a watch because, it's about being real. It's about being who you are. What are your thoughts in terms of how organizations now need to change maybe some of their policies because of the way people want to be who they are and be real?
Yeah, you have to embrace it. I mean, we dress, Jay wears a hat every day. I wear trainers every day, no matter where I'm going. That's what I wear. And if someone's going to say you can't come into something, like I'm walking into a restaurant or a bar because you're wearing a certain outfit, I'm sorry, that's not for me. You should be taking me for who you are. And Gen Z are even more like that. They be known for their brain, for their creativity, for their thoughts, for who they are. And you have to be able to express your individuality, and that's what they need to be able to do.
Yeah, and I think the world is shifting. So I remember, my mum, she's Jamaican, and she would go to work and they would say to her, your hair isn't appropriate for work, because she'd have braids in. And she'd be like, well, why is this not appropriate? They're like, oh, it's not work. I'm not going to have straight hair like Susan because Susan was white. So my hair's not going to be like that. And I think it's, as the world is changing, these things are becoming the norm. You're going to have to get used to people dressing how they dress and having their hair how they have their hair. And I think it's organizations that embrace that sooner will do better, and the ones that don't, to be transparent, they won't exist in 10 to 15 years because people won't buy from them, people won't work for them. So it is what it is.
And I think that is goldest insight from this, because it still amazes me sometimes how certain organizations, you feel like you're going back into the 80s, because you're still seeing a lot of suit, and maybe that's cool, I don't know, but we've got to realize that these people want to wear exactly, these awesome people want to wear what they want to wear. Okay, computer, the questions are screaming at me again. Steve, back to you, sir.
We have a question from Kay. Gen Z do research on us as employers, which is great, but how do we get the best out of our recruitment process to engage with that generation?
It's also consulting with them. So it kind of comes back to the same point, is asking that younger generation what they want to see from their employer, and it's not going to be the same as what millennials want. It kind of comes back to that point on if ethical consumption or sustainability, or even if it's recycling is important. A lot of younger people now want to see health benefits. So, whether that's a gym membership or whether that's time to, have to yourself, an hour each week or whatever it is, the benefits have changed. So it's about doing your research to find out how and what will make those people happy and want to join your company. I hope that answers, and I think that was Kay, wasn't it?
Kev?
It was Kay, and you were right, yeah.
Thank you.
Steve, next question, please.
Okay, so this question's for Jay, and it's from Ben. I think we share a love of video games. What do you think about their business potential as Gen Z and Gen Alpha have more and more influence?
Mate, video games. Firstly, great answer, great question. What was it? Steve? Ben. Yes, Ben. 100%. Great question, Ben. We like to know your names. That's why I'm always like, what's your name? But yeah, Ben, good question. I think computer games are the future. That's what I'm saying. Earlier, I alluded to the fact that Gen Z play a lot of computer games from a mental health perspective, and so do I. During the lockdown, I play a lot of computer games with my brother-in-law and my friends, just so I can have a conversation with them at the end of the day. Because I knew if I was like, hey, let's talk on the phone for an hour, 90% of my friends are going to be like, no, that's a dumb idea. But if I said, do you want to just jump on Call of Duty or FIFA for an hour? They'll be like, yeah, keen. And then we both got headset on, and I can just ask them, how's your day? How's life? And it's conversation. And I think as advertising is getting better within computer games, brands are going to be drawn to computer games more. And the funny thing about advertising in computer games is it's got to almost blend into the background. So FIFA does a great job of this. We're having the teams around the pitch and different things that they do.
Audio ads as well.
Yes.
There's such a rise in audio ads in game now, and I think that's going to become absolutely huge.
100%. And I think the future is gaming, and I think it's such a it's a massive market. So correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm sure it's bigger than Hollywood. It's bigger than all these industries put together. And I think the interesting thing about gaming is it's relatively untapped. And I think Gen Z will be gaming more. They love the community aspect of it. I remember asking one of our consultants, who's your best friend? And he said this kid from Saudi Arabia, and I was like, what? And he's like, I've been playing Call of Duty with him for like the last 5 or 6 years. So he's one of my best friends. And I was like, it blew my mind. But to him, especially to Gen Z, they see the community as a global community. They don't see it as, oh, my neighbor is my friend next door. My neighbor is somebody in another country that I play computer games with every day.
Yeah, but also gaming isn't just your traditional gaming. Yeah. So, playing a game, we've done a report actually on this in conjunction with NFL, and there were some really interesting stats. Now, I won't go into them now, but playing games, actually there's a huge percentage of females that are playing games and a huge percentage of older people that are playing games, but they're just not known as a typical gamer.
You've just put it in my mind there, because I just had a little boy, as we were talking about before, and I was talking to my wife the other day about, when he gets older, what are some of the things that we'll let him do and not do? And I was like, I don't want him to be a gamer, because I was thinking, because my thinking behind that is because I want him to socialize and that would potentially stop that. But what you're saying is no, that's not only how they communicate, but they can reach people around the world. So they're a truly global community. That's blown my mind. Wow. Okay. I'm going to change it. I'm going to change my mind on that. I like it. Steve, next question, please. And then I've got a couple I'd love to go for too.
No problem. Now, this question is from Bethany, and it's a great question. I'm hoping I'm not going to mess it up. From an employer's perspective, how do we support the side hustles and freelancing that Gen Z want to or are doing outside of their employment without it impacting their traditional job, i.e. us as the main employer?
Brilliant question.
I mean, that's an amazing question, Bethany. And I think it comes back to what I was saying before about that recruitment process and allowing people that time. So, if you are to give people back time, so that doesn't have to be 1 hour a week or 1 day a week, you come to that agreement. But if that person can get their work done and meet their deadlines, and this is what this generation is all about. I can do my work, but I don't have to be in the office, or I don't have to work 9 to 5, or I don't have to work on a Friday, then they should still be able to do those side hustles and to have those opportunities. And it might be that they just want an hour to go to the gym, but you need to be able to encourage that around their deadlines. So, what we would always advise is, as long as you can do your work, then why can't you work from 10 till 6 or from 11 till 7 or whatever way you want to do it. So I think it's just about trying to understand and have that two-way communication with them to say what your expectations are, but also to allow them what they need to be able to do those side hustles.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I think the concept of set work hours for every single person within the organization being identical is rather archaic. I think the idea that Kat and I, because Kat's been in the marketing industry longer than I have, so she can do something probably way quicker than I can, simply for the fact that she's got more expertise. So when I'm looking at Kat and I, the length of time it will take her to do a task and me to do a task may be different, but then that will be different for different tasks. So I think very much you need to look at every employee on an individual basis. It's very much, well, from your skills and expertise, you probably only need to work 10 to 4 compared to somebody else, so on and so on. And then that will then allow them to hustle outside of that. And one of the great things is that statistically it's proven that if you allow people the flexibility and the freedom to work in a way that's suitable for them, they will graft so much harder for you than you will do if you have set, no, you have to work 9 to 5:30, you need to be in the office and so on and so on. And I think that's the way the world is moving.
That's such a good point.
You know, when we're thinking about platforms to engage with, because you know, you're talking about how you give the guys flexibility, right? And as we're hearing, they want very different, well, they want different things to maybe the generations that have been before them. But let's just talk about now how you going back to communication and your message. Companies obviously getting better, and some are very savvy on LinkedIn. You know, we have Instagram, we have, let me check my notes, I'm only joking, we have Facebook. You know, we have all these new social platforms. Do you think organizations are embracing them well enough and quickly enough to take advantage of the fact that these guys are all over these platforms? Do you think, do you see organizations doing a good enough job of really using this? Do they not need to worry about Instagram and Facebook and just focus on LinkedIn? What are your thoughts?
I mean, it's a really interesting question, because I don't think there's a one mold that fits all. I think every business is different, and different channels, different social platforms are going to work for different businesses. And you know, there might be a right time to communicate via Instagram and a right time to communicate via LinkedIn. And LinkedIn will remain that professional marketplace, you know, that professional platform, and Instagram, you know, will be to show your perfect life, as Jay likes to say. But there are different times for different communication channels, and I think it's I don't think there's one size fits all. I think there are more and more businesses waking up to how to use social media, and there's definitely been an upsurge, you know, of people using channels. But I don't know if it's a simple solution as to this is exactly how you should do it for each person and for each business.
Yeah, I love that point, and I think the interesting thing is that so TikTok, it came out of nowhere, and it's now been banned in India, and potentially Donald Trump's going to ban it in the States. But I think the thing that makes TikTok so interesting, and a lot of time brands are nervous to jump onto something in its infant stage, and I think TikTok is a great place to test things out, to see what works, because Gen Z are there. There's a lot of eyeballs there from a Gen Z perspective, and even older. You see a lot of influencers on TikTok that are grandparents, that are parents, and you've got entire families creating TikTok accounts and going viral. And on TikTok, it's so easy to go viral that I think it's a place where brands can really go, okay, you know, we're going to test out a few different bits and see what works. And I think I love what Kat was saying, is that kind of you can bolt in all the different platforms into your strategy, but just make sure you realize that what you post on LinkedIn, that you don't also post that exact same thing on TikTok. It needs to be different type of content. And I think the beautiful thing about social media is that there's so many eyeballs there. There's so many people there all the time. And I just think that as a brand, as a company, it's a great time to go, okay, let's test things. Let's see what works. Let's look at the data, look at the insights, and just make sure that we're doing our best to not cover all bases, but to make sure that we're trying our best to market on each platform.
Now, TikTok is a brand new thing to me. I was nearly about to call it TikTok. Remember the minutes TikTok? But TikTok is like, it's totally new. Now I'm thinking that if I'm going to get on TikTok, I've got to do you know, a bit of a dance or something, maybe something a little bit cooler than that. But is that what it's about? TikTok's about doing a dance? I mean, I don't get it. Tell us, what is TikTok?
I'll answer while Kat's laughing. It's creativity. TikTok is about, oh God, you need help, man. TikTok is about creativity and co-creation. So it's a beautiful place to, so say for example, you'll see a pianist playing a beautiful piece of classical music, then you'll see a violinist jump on that and get that, they'll bolt that into their TikTok, they will then play violin, and then you'll see a singer also bolt both of those pieces of content onto theirs and sing over it all. Yeah. So it's a great place for people to come together and just merge amazing content together that they've never met. And I think the thing about TikTok is it's a great opportunity to really provide raw content, behind the scenes content of your company, behind the scenes, not polished, just super raw content of, if you're a handbag company, this is what it's like to create a handbag end to end with X brand.
Whereas on Instagram, you would it would need to be much more polished, and it will be, this is the perfect process to doing that. Whereas exactly like you say, TikTok is you can have more freedom.
It's exactly that, and I just think it's an amazing place to just be creative. And I think, as I said before, just take risks, because so many companies are scared to take risks. And I think folks like ourselves are here to help you mitigate those risks and just make them a little less risky to the business. But I think right now is a great opportunity just to try new things and just do different things. We're pretty much having a reset right now, so give it a go.
I have a feeling, based on what you've just said, that there's going to be a lot of people here at Cooper Parry now that are going to be thinking about how we hit TikTok hard, especially because you're saying you can do stuff that's not polished, it's behind the scenes, it's showing how real you are, authentic you are, having fun, just being you. You know, so guys, watch this space. I think TikTok's going to be hit harder than ever on the basis of what you guys have been saying. I'm excited. I want to be a part of it. So anyway, right, let's go back to the next questions. I don't know where that came from. I don't even dance like that. Right, next question.
Okay, so this is from Damien. So web-based retail delivery to the door creates an increased carbon footprint and waste. Do you think Gen Z will potentially draw back the uses of such retail channels that increases carbon footprints?
Yeah, absolutely, and they're already doing that, and that's why they are more drawn to companies that will use sustainable packaging, that have changed their ways for of delivery or returns. And we actually did a report with Stella McCartney, and it was really interesting because, of course, Gen Z are all over social and they are browsing. When it comes to shopping, they're browsing online, but actually there's still a really significant proportion of them that are going in store to buy. And part of the reason for that is to try and to mitigate that delivery and return process because of sustainability reasons. So I think, yes, they are already doing that, to answer your question. And it will only become more so. So brands really need to think about how they're going to get those products into their hands with all of this, with all of this change.
Yeah, and I think the future that I see, and Kat and I have spoken about this before, so there's something called BOPIS, which is buy online, pick up in store. And I think the future is going to be where you're going to have stores that are very, very small. Yeah. You'll literally just have almost like a shop front, like a sweet shop type thing, where you just come up and collect your products. There will be no real browsing within store because folks are just like, well, I bought it online and I want to pop down in an hour and pick it up because I don't want to wait for it to be delivered in 2 working days or next day delivery. I want to get it today. So I'm going to pop by, especially in London and the major cities, I want to pop by and grab it now from that place or from an Amazon pickup spot, which is, really interesting.
And I guess that's been driven by the fact, they call it, don't they, the Amazon generation. They expect everything now. Everything as quickly as possible. And that's going to be a challenge for the logistics of many organizations too. I mean, that's a whole other conversation, isn't it, in terms of how people there have to gear up towards that. Yeah. Okay, Steve, another question, please, sir.
No problem. I really like this question because he starts it off with a quick question, and it is not. So this is from Danny. He said, really interesting webinar. If Gen Z are 30% of the world population, that means there are around 2.5 billion of them. How do the methods of collecting their insights give assurance that all 2.5 billion have the same attitudes and ways of viewing the world, particularly when they cross cultures and continents?
Phenomenal question. Wow. Mate, that was probably the best question I've had in a long time. It was Damien, right?
That was from Danny.
Oh, okay, you just butchered the name. My bad. But phenomenal question, though. I think the best way we've done that within our community is by making sure our community is super diverse. So 65% of our community are female, 35% of our community are Black, 25% of our community are Asian, 10% of our community are from the LGBTQ+ community. For us, we know that diversity is strength. we know that if you have a diverse group of people within your community, you will have diversity of thought. So the way we make sure that we get a lovely, broad understanding of the world from a Gen Z perspective is by ensuring we have loads of diverse people in our community. So many of our community are international students that study here in the UK. So many, we actually had somebody sign up literally yesterday from Hungary. We're getting people signing up all the time from all parts of the world to be part of our community. And we literally got reached out by a brand from Sao Paulo literally last night. And I think it's very,
I know, it's cool,
which is really, really cool. I was like, how the hell did you find us? But I love it because the world is a truly global place. And that question is perfect because the way you're looking at the world is very much how they look at the world. It's, well, there's no barriers. So something that applies here doesn't really apply in those other countries. And the way we make sure that we always hit the nail on the head with this, and we do make mistakes, but the way we make sure we try and hit the nail on the head with that is by ensuring we've got diversity in the room when we are doing anything with a brand or with an agency.
Very cool, guys. Well done. Okay, I mean that is. You're saying how the hell did that even happen? But it's just great, isn't it? You're going proper global. Going proper global, Rodney. Anyone?
That's not rhyme.
Steve, next question, please. I can still see it's flashing at me. So let's get these questions done, so I don't get accused of hogging.
Sure. So Damien did try and steal that question. He went, yeah, that was definitely a Damien question. I think he realises how good it was, and he was just trying to steal it. We have a question from Steve. A Gen Z brand is Boohoo. How the hell would you manage their campaign right now?
In the hot right there, guys. Okay.
Yeah, Kat, how would you handle that? I think the interesting thing about Boohoo is that they are they're like the flagship brand for fast fashion. Everybody's like, oh, fast fashion. And everybody's so nervous around it. And we actually did a webinar today, and I did one last week. I think, was it last week? Yeah, last week with some of our consultants to a few brands. And a question similar to this came up. And I think the interesting thing with Boohoo is they have a lot of brand love with Gen Z. So Gen Z really, really love them. Something like this will have a massive impact on that. Gen Z will begin to question this process. And I think the main thing I would do with Boohoo now, and I think what our consultants would say, because when we were speaking to our consultants earlier today, what they were saying was it's time for Boohoo to be completely transparent. It's not a time for them to blame their suppliers or blame so-and-so somewhere far down the chain. It's time for them to go, hey, you know what? We messed up. We should have done this, but this is what we're doing internally. And that's what we see from our consultants. They're very much saying to brands, own up, say, I've made a mistake. This is what we've done wrong, and this is how we are trying to change that internally to make sure it doesn't happen again. And I think that's very much what I would encourage Boohoo to do. And I think this is when we're speaking to our consultants. And if Boohoo came to us and we're like, hey, we want your consultants to work with us on our marketing campaign and our PR side of this, we would very much be like, okay, so to our consultants, just be real with them. Tell them exactly what Gen Z think of Boohoo right now, and how as a consultant community you can help them improve that image with them being honest and transparent. And the TikTok would be a great place to do this. TikTok would be a phenomenal place to do this, to go, this is what it's like behind the scenes at Boohoo. This is what we're doing right now behind the scenes at Boohoo to try and win back that brand love and show that we're not just a bunch of people that are trying to make fast money from fast fashion.
And even John touched on it earlier, didn't you? You were asking a question around, will Gen Z drop you? If you make a mistake, and that's exactly what you're saying. It's own up to it. And if you just have that conversation and you just hold your hands up, then you are more likely to win back that audience. But if you completely disregard it and you don't say anything about it and you don't speak up, then you risk losing that long term. So it's better to suffer in the short term, but actually then build that back up in the long term.
What I think is really interesting about what you're saying is this word honesty. I started by doing a quick recap of the generations that have been before, and we started with the baby boomers, and I straight away think of that. It's very much about honesty, integrity, really strong, deep-rooted words like that. It seems that with Gen Z, it's really going back to that real honesty. Really, that's such an important word.
yeah, honesty, transparency, authenticity, truth, you know, all of that will help to build trust. And that's what they want. They want that trust and that loyalty, but you have to prove it first.
Yeah, and I think that comes from, as millennials, social media suddenly appeared, and we were like, have all my data, take everything, know everything about me, and then we're like, oh crap, you're selling my data. Don't abort, take everything back, You know what I mean? And I think Gen Z have watched that, and they've got their parents who are millennials, who are Gen X, with the phone in their face all the time, and they're kind of like, man, intense. So you see with a lot of Gen Z, they don't use their actual government, I always say government names, that's such a get word, but they don't use their official names online. They're very much using pseudonyms, and they're very much hiding their identity because they've seen what's happened. So when they're going to brands and say, we want you to be authentic, we want you to be truthful, that's because they've watched brands over the years not be like that. And then they're learning from previous generations. And I definitely think there's almost a throwback to the peace and love generation, where it was kind of just like, hey, it's all about love, we're one big global community. And that came about because of it was easy to travel around countries. So people started to see other human beings and be like, oh, wait, you're from India or you're from Saudi Arabia, and we're very similar in person. I think what's happening with Gen Z is now, because of technology, they're seeing the world so much more as a global community. So for them, it's like, well, yeah, it's very much just looking at it and just being like, why can't we just make this better and do better?
Yeah. Okay, guys, just a bit of fun, and then I'm going to go to fun for me anyway, and then we'll go back to Steve to finish on a couple of questions. But when I did the introduction at the beginning, and I was using a lot of the words that Gen Z use, a lot of people probably just thinking, you know, this guy, we know he's in the know, he knows all this sort of stuff. I wasn't actually, I was reading it because I just couldn't get it into my head. But let's just go through some of the words, just so that people understand what some of the dictionary they might be hearing over the coming, you know, weeks, months, and years. So when I said no caps, peeps, this is going to be hard. What did I mean? What did I mean? No caps, peeps, this is going to be hard.
No caps. It's almost like
no,
don't worry.
Don't worry about it.
Chill out. It's not that deep. That's another one.
Chill out. It's not that deep.
It's not that deep. So that's something I would say. It's not that
it
deep.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Exactly. I could have said it better myself. I described you as two Gucci entrepreneurs. Okay, now some people might have thought, are they from Gucci? Because if so, I've misread the invite. What do I mean by two Gucci entrepreneurs?
So Gucci's luxury, isn't it? So it's like we're luxury. She's
luxury.
Gucci. Do you know what I mean? we're the upper echelon of entrepreneurs. That's what you said.
Yeah,
we're not saying that of ourselves. That's what you said.
Lit experience. What does that mean? Lit. It's lit.
It's good. It's great. It's on fire.
Yeah, literally.
Ready for this one? It's salty.
It's salty. So I was saying this earlier. So a lot of these words are throwback to words that I used when I was 15. It's very much Black culture, but salty is almost like if someone's salty, they're in their feelings, so they're feeling emotional. Yeah. So almost like if someone's salty, say if I offended you, they're offended. That's the best way of saying it. So they're salty, so they're feeling offended about something.
Okay, I'm loving this. Okay, let's give it a bit of context. So Jay, I'm talking to my friend. I said, look, I think I've said something to Jay. I feel like he's ghosting me.
Ignoring.
Okay. Two more. Shook. What's shook?
Yeah. So shook again is like, so say for example, you're scared. So say if I saw somebody and I was like, he was speaking trash about me on social media, but then I saw him in real life and he was shook. He didn't want to talk to me face to face because he was scared.
Got it. Okay, and the final one, which I do get.
Yeah.
Now the final one that I do get, okay, and I can't wait to say this to you guys. You're frozen at the moment. I know that's just my screen. Can you hear me?
John?
Okay, you're back.
Yeah.
This is the big one. You ready? So after, I'm going to say, guys, I can't wait till we can meet up again because I can't wait to spill the tea.
It's my favourite.
So spill the tea is like gossip.
Yeah,
like spill the tea. Like, let us know what's going on. Give us a gossip.
Your news, your gossip. Yeah.
Okay, guys, everyone, you've heard it here first. This is how you communicate with Gen Z. Okay. Okay, let's go back to one more question or two if we have time. Have we got time? Yes, we have. Two more questions. Steve.
I hope we have time because we've got 3 amazing questions in, so we'll just do our best. The first one is actually from a Gen Zer. They've announced themselves. So Gen Z are here. This is from Tamara. She actually works at Cooper Parry. She does all our social media. She's awesome. She's put lit AF. Okay. We've researched into TikTok before and found that the content that business to business brands were sharing was forced and almost as if they were just jumping on the bandwagon. Do you think that this is potentially be damaging to brands and will discourage other B2B businesses to join the platform? Also, John, can you please do the Renegade TikTok dance?
Haven't got a clue what it is. Is that anywhere close?
I think we should stick to the question, I reckon.
Is that what you mean?
Yeah. Hi, Tamara. Thank you. I've seen you loads on social media, so you're obviously doing a great job. I think we're kind of going back to the point that we were before. It's early enough to test things out, and so yes, there have been some, you know, what should we say, challenging communication for some brands, but I think they can adapt. So I think as long as you're willing to keep trying, to keep learning, to keep testing, but the ultimate thing is coming back to asking your audience what they think and testing what you're going to do. So prior to putting something out, why not ask the audience? Why not talk to them about it? What do you think of this? We're going to post this content. What do you think of it? And then, you know, use that feedback to develop the content. And obviously that's what we do. That's the whole premise of our business. But if you're testing it first, then yeah, then you'll help to improve. But I think it's early enough still to be able to make mistakes and correct those.
Yeah, I think, yeah, I love that. I think it's very much you need to, you just need to engage them in the conversation. Get them in as early as humanly possible. Start the conversation with Gen Z as early as humanly possible. Because if it's, I think from a B2B perspective, I think the TikTok is a great platform to show other business partners just the rawness and just the almost make it into a joke. We know this is bad. We know what we're putting out right now is terrible and it's bad, and we're just doing it because we know it's funny and we want to do it for the banter. And I think if that normal side of human beings, because a lot of the time you guys will engage with somebody better if they're normal, they're just acting like a normal human being around you. And I think the best way to do that is on TikTok. Just be a normal human being on TikTok, and people will be interested in that.
Cool. Steve, you said we had 3, so that's 1 down, 2 more to go. Guys, we've got 2 minutes.
Oh, we've got more in. I'm trying to choose the one I think is best. This one's from Damien again, and he said, it feels like morality and honesty fuels the Gen Z population, not self-centered. Do the guys see a new brand of moral entrepreneur where profit is no more important than environmental factors? It could be a beautiful world. Where do you guys see the world in 20 years?
Wow. 20 years, that's a long way.
Shall we go for 10? Should we go for 10? I mean, 20 is hard. 10? I mean, I don't know. What's that easy for you guys?
It's a really good question. I guess it's one for us to really think about. And I think you're right. I think you know, we are building with a lot of different things in mind. So, you know, ethical aspects and sustainability aspects. And I know I keep coming back to those, but I think that will definitely kind of help to shape how businesses grow. But in terms of 10 years time, where do we see us and other businesses? I mean,
I think the good thing for us is we built from a place of understanding. We wanted to improve the lives of others. We wanted to add value to Gen Z. We wanted them to come into our community and leave our community when they go on and do whatever they do next, and we added value to them. And I think because that's at the core of our business, that will forever be with us. I think as Gen Z start their own businesses, they will become to set pace. So that's another word for you there, John, another phrase. They'll begin to set pace. So they will begin to show other businesses, set pace. So they will begin to show other businesses, this is how it's done. As a ethical business, this is how you do it. And what will happen is other businesses will realize, oh wait, we're losing market share to these diddy little startups who actually are reaching their community and reaching their audience better than we are. And what will happen is businesses will begin to pivot and do the exact same thing. I think that's what's going to happen over the next 10 to 15 years.
And I think businesses will start to offer other things. So I know, obviously, you know, people want money and things like that, but actually there'll be probably more of a lean towards equity in businesses, or giving shares, or giving people that sense of involvement in a company's growth so that they can get the best out of their employees. So it's not just about, here's your pay packet, you know, here, we'll do some good stuff that you like. Actually, how can you get involved to help us to shape our future, or help that business to shape our future? That's such a good question, and it's really made me think. So thank you, Damien.
Thank you for that, Damon. Guys, I'm going to have to, it's 3 o'clock, so I'm going to have to pull the plug on this. The stuff you have spoken about has been fascinating, okay? I've absolutely loved what you have basically enabled to really understand about Gen Z, how important they are. Now, your website is imageninsights.com, IMAGEN, imageninsights.com. If people want to email you, it's JOY@imageninsights.com. Is that correct?
Yeah, bro.
It sounds like people need to. It really does. So this is obviously going to be going, we're going to be doing this again as a podcast. We were number 21 in the world of downloaded podcasts on our last one. So it's so exciting. It's brilliant. So guys, we want to go up that rankings now. So fingers crossed you're going to help us do that. Thank you so much for your time. It's been so awesome talking to you. Guys, I love you.
Thank you so much for having us. Really loved it. And yeah, thank you, John. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, everyone. People, Parry.
Cracking. So let's take us on to the next one. We're going to have a bit of a summer break because we've noticed that people are taking advantage to get away and do things. So we will be back September the 10th for celebrity chef Melissa Hemsley. Yep, Melissa Hemsley is going to be talking to us about 5 ways to enjoy eating well and feeling good. Really topical, because obviously during lockdown, I think a lot of us have been eating, you know, cooking more food ourselves, eating in obviously more. So with therefore the importance of, you know, feeling good and having good food, this is going to be an absolute cracker. So you'll be able to join us from next week. So in the meantime, thank you so much for joining us. Massive thanks for Jay and Kat. Gen Z are here in a big way. So thank you very much, guys, for joining. Thanks to Jay and Kat, and we look forward to seeing you at our next live lounge later in September. Have a great summer. Speak to you soon.